Okay, let's do this. OCR A Bio Paper 1 2025. What are the high yield topics going to be? Okay, so I actually recorded this video yesterday. It got messed up. I lost everything, so I'm going to re-record it now for you. Hopefully it helps you out. Okay, so high yield topics, what are they? They're just the topics that come up the most. Okay, so your content for biology is not equal. There's going to be preference towards certain topics and subtopics over others. Just from the specification, right? Exams are a game, learn the rules for the game, learn what comes up the most, and so you know what to prepare closer to the exam. So the exam is rolling up on us really fast. It's this week coming up. So, you know, you got to be cramming. You should have hopefully done all the past papers if you're going for the A star. And then if you want to know where to cram further on YouTube, past paper questions by topic, repeat your mistakes, stuff like that, this is what we're going to look at in this video. All right, so let's do this. First up, this is just a list of the topics and subtopics. So if you guys don't have a clue what's going on, this is where you want to sort of know what's going to come up in the papers. But most of you, like 90% of you, should be confident and know what's going to come up in each paper. Okay, so you can take a screenshot of this so you can see what's coming up. Everything is broken down further. So we've got the topic over here, which are often called modules, like in the textbook and in the spec. 1, 2, 3, and 5. Okay, so this breaks down further into the subtopics. So 2 is all of these, 3 is all of these, 4 is all of these. Okay, and what we're going to look at for the exam purposes is how much did these come up by, and how much did these come up by separately. Okay, now one important thing to note is that I have left this one, practical skills, completely absent in terms of looking at marks and stuff like that. All right, and the reason being is that all I've done is essentially where a practical skill or something did come up related to spec point 1, I've actually slotted it into the respective subtopic where that practical is relevant. Okay, so this is going to be completely absent, but module 1, topic 1, whatever you want to call it, the practical skills side of things is super important. So don't neglect it just because I've left it absent. Okay, same thing was in my video last year. This is the practical activities, and this is present in the OCR Bio Practical Handbook if you want to find it, but basically it's here for you. Now, they don't always rigidly stick to this, like with AQA Chem or whatever it may be, where you're dealing with very specific practicals, very specific methodology you have to know and learn. It's not quite the same for OCR Bio, okay? So it's good to sort of know the things that come up in this table, but they can always tweak it on you. But as long as you know the fundamental statistics, stuff like that, which is actually what I'm going to talk about quickly here. But recall and provided statistical stuff. So statistical and mathematical. That's kind of hard to say. This is what you should be completely aware of, okay? If you know these fundamentals, you're going to be completely fine on top of how to read a graph, draw a data table, all that good stuff, okay? But you should know the bare bones of this. Okay, I'm not going to go through practicals in this video. Everything is going to be related to subtopics. So if you go through the spec and you see that one of these practical activities is related to a specific subtopic, you need to be aware of it, especially if you're going for AA star, all right? Unfortunately with bio, like this, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on where you lean towards your sort of your interest in bio, this is going to make up a ton of the questions, okay? This kind of stats, maths, graphs, evaluation, analysis, comparison, all that stuff, okay? Right, let's actually get into the analysis. So this is the grade boundaries, okay? This is raw marks, not percentage, okay? So as we can see here, you need around a 70 on average to get an A star and around 60 to get an A and then 50 to get a B. So you're pretty much banging those grade boundaries on the 50, 60, 70 for B to A star respectively, okay? Now, another thing I thought is if you want to be extra harsh with yourself when you're going through these past papers and you say, okay, I want an A or an A star in 2025, regardless of the difficulty of the paper, where do I want to ideally be finding myself? Which is where you could potentially look at that average of the top 3. So you find the top 3 years, you know, you got 76, 76, and 71, for example, over here. That would give us a 75, okay? As an average. Over here, 65, 65, 61, something like that, okay? 2018 and 2019 were really high grade boundaries. But yeah, regardless of maybe this year it's going to be a higher 60s for an A star, but you can always just be super strict with yourself to cover all your bases and make sure that you're confident walking into that exam room that you're going to get an A or an A star, depending on what you're going for, right? If you're going for a B or a C, that's fine as well. That's all over here. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea of what's going on, how hard the papers are going to be, just to sort of help you out, really have some more awareness, all right? All right, topics, let's look at this. So we got all the modules here. Remember, topic 1 is absent, but practicals are super important, so don't forget about that. Over 50% of the marks, so we got 415 marks here, came from topic 5, communication, homeostasis, and energy. Next up, around a third of the total marks across the years, so 8 years in total, right? Exchange and transport. Then got pretty much last, foundations in biology. This one is an outlier. I think it was the 2020 paper where there were some questions that were only related to maths and stats, so they weren't topic specific and could not be slotted here. Okay, so this is just sort of like an additional one I've added on to see where the missing 10 marks were, but that's where they went. Okay, so if you want to know where to focus the majority of your time, communication, homeostasis, and energy for paper 1, exchange and transport next. Okay, cool. Let's look at subtopics. Okay, so subtopics. Again, everything's color coded. So this is this, etc. Right? So within the communication, homeostasis, and energy topic, the 3 highest subtopics were plant and animal responses, photosynthesis, and respiration. Okay, if you want to know what to do from there, then after that is excretion. Okay, then you can go down a little bit more, hormonal communication, then neuronal communication, and then communication and homeostasis in general. Okay, but if you're looking at this topic in your textbook, YouTube videos, whatever it may be, you can focus on these 3 to begin with. Okay. Then we have exchange and transport. So you got transport in animals, number 1 at 85 marks across the years. And then transport in plants is next, 57 marks. Exchange services next at 44 marks. All right. So you want to be focusing on transport in animals the most. We'll look at the years in a bit and look at the trends. Then foundations in biology. You have biological molecules, biological membranes, and then cell division, cell structure, enzymes, and nucleotides. Okay. So this is basically what the years have looked like overall. This is the total marks right here. If you've never seen any of my videos, this is just the total marks that came up across the 8 years. This is a percentage of the total marks that have been made available. This is the frequency. So in how many papers did that subtopic come up in? Okay, the highest one so far is this. Photosynthesis has come up every single year. Okay, so does that mean it may miss a year this year? Yeah, for sure. It can miss a year this year, and maybe they'll bump a different one up. So maybe they'll bump respiration up this year in preference to photosynthesis. I don't know. We'll look at the trends in a bit. Okay, and then we've got the average marks per paper. This just tells you when that subtopic did come up, how many marks was it worth on average. So all of the highest ones you see here, right, the top 4, top 5, they received the highest marks on average when they did come up. Okay, so if you know these ones in and out, you have a very high, you could branch it down further, so maybe these ones as well. If you know the top, 7, 8 topics really, really, really well, you're going to walk into that exam with a lot of confidence, okay, and a high probability of getting a lot of marks, okay? And then obviously you want to know the other stuff to a limiting degree, depending on whether you're going for an A star. If you're going for an A star, you want to know everything, but you want to absolutely know this off by heart kind of thing. That's where I'm kind of going with these videos, right? So where do we go from here? Let's look at some trends, right? Oh, wait, before that, this is just a graph. So I don't know if you want to screenshot this of how many marks came up. It's just a visual representation of this table, really. So like it can give you a clear picture of where to focus your time. You want to focus up here first, and then down here, and then down here, etc. Okay, in those days leading up to the exams, the majority of your time should be here. Maybe something like this, right? And you can do it in blocks depending on how you study, stuff like that. All right, let's do this. Trends. Okay, so basically, this just tells you 2017 all the way up to 2024. What does our marks distribution look like? Okay, so we got the exact same thing again. We've got the total marks, we got the frequency, we got the average marks when that paper, when that topic did come up, and then we got the standard deviation. The reason I've added this in, if you've seen my Edexcel maths video, is so I can look at the coefficient of variation. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much detail of what this is. It essentially just tells you variability. Okay, the lower the percentage, the more consistent the marks are compared to the mean. Okay, so for example, this one is 47%, fairly low COV, meaning that the average, when the topic does come up, it's fairly close to the average. Okay, all COV is a ratio between standard deviation and the average or the mean. Okay, so the top ones, which are the closest, which also happen to be the highest averages and the highest marks, plant and animal responses and photosynthesis. Okay, about double that percentage, you've got respiration and transport in animals. You've also got these, which are fairly the same COV as well, excretion and transport in plants. Okay, and you can work your way down the list and see what's going on here. But you've got something like nucleotides and nucleic acids. There's a lot of zeros here, guys, which means that it's going to have a high COV. Okay. Something important to keep in mind is this does not include paper 3 as well. Okay. So potentially in paper 3, when something was absent, you know, maybe here, or where is there another zero? Here, or here, whatever, right? Maybe they preference that towards paper 3. So that's something really important to keep in mind. Okay. All right, so you can click off the video now. You've basically got everything you need. Everything beyond this point is just going to be me looking at the trends across the years. And it's honestly probably not that helpful. And it's just kind of for those of you that want to see what was going on in the exams over time. All right, and maybe sort of what's going to happen this year. What are some potential outcomes of this year and sort of what's going to happen there. But again, complete guesses. So please just click off the video if you want. Get back to revising. Okay, this first one here, we can see that's dipped for the last 2 years. All right, dipped in 2023 and 2024. There has not been a recent zero. So of course, there's always a chance that it can dip back to zero and maybe it's present in paper 3 instead. But I think this could actually potentially go up this year. We've never had 3 dips in a row, but we've had 2 dips for the last 2 years. So this could either drop to 0 or it's going to go up slightly. That's my prediction there. Next, we have photosynthesis. So last year was the highest year so far for photosynthesis. So I actually think it's going to be either completely absent because we haven't had a 0 year for this one yet, or it's just going to go down in general. I don't see it peaking again beyond this point because that's the highest marks we've had. So it's either going to dip slightly like you kind of got here, or it's going to drop to 0. So either way, I would personally, if I was in your shoes and I was doing OCR bio, I would be revising photosynthesis a lot just to make sure I knew everything in and out, regardless of if it doesn't come up or not, just because it has a high chance of coming up and it's come up every year. So that's sort of how I'm thinking there. Next up, respiration. Oi, look at this mad spike. So we got down, up slightly. I actually think respiration is going to go up this year. I don't think it's going to go to 0 again, but we've never got 2 ups in a row. We've only ever got an up, down. And then we got an up last year, but it was very small. So my thinking is respiration is actually going to go up again to sort of more of the peak areas like we got in 2017, 18, 20, and 22. That's my thinking there. Okay, next up we got transport. So again, very similar trend here. We got up, down. We actually have not got any zeros since 2022, but we also have not had 2 years in a row where it decreased 2 years in a row, right? So I'm thinking that it's actually going to drop. What's this one? Transport in animals, right? I think this one is going to go up. I think this one's going to go up. But again, I'm just completely guessing. Looking at trends, it makes sense for it to go up because it goes up, down. But it didn't actually go down by that much. It didn't drop to 0. So again, this doesn't incorporate paper 3. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah. All right, next up, excretion. Up, down, up, down. This one is tricky, right? So you've had 2 years where it was 0, 1 year where it was close to 0. Last year was fairly high, but it was a down. So I'm thinking this one is either going to drop close to 0 this year. Excretion is an important topic though. I think it's going to either drop close to 0 or drop or be around the same. But dropping close to 0, I guess, makes sense because we've actually had 2 years where it was fairly high. So I actually think this one's going to drop quite low. Maybe they'll push that into paper 3. I don't know. Okay, this one is going to be high. I'm like almost, look at this trend. So we got a dip 3 years in a row. What's this one? Transporting plants? I can't quite remember. Yeah, transporting plants. So we actually had 2 years in a row where it went up. And then we had 3 years in a row where it dipped, and it was actually at 0 last year. So that's my prediction, guys. Transporting plants is going to go up this year, and it's going to go up to a decent amount. I think, I think it's going to go up to around the 10 mark range. Complete guess again, but we'll see. So biomolecules. This had a peak in 2019, and a 2 years dip, one up, one down, one up. I think this is going to go down. I think it's going to go down or stay around the same, stay around between 5 and 10 marks. That's what I think is going to happen there. When was it last 0? In 2021. So it could dip straight to 0, but I think it's going to be around this range. But I think it's going to decrease. I don't think it's going to be 10 marks again. Was it ever 10 marks twice in a row? So this one we actually had, 2018 we had fairly high. What's that? 8 marks. 9 marks, I think. And then up here we had 16 marks in 2019, probably from the MCQs. So yeah, keep that in mind. I think this is biomembranes. I believe, I can't really see it on the thing. Yeah, biological membranes. So it went up. So I think this is going to go down, as we can see, up, down, up, down, up, down trend all the way through. So I think this is going to go down this year. Exchange surfaces. I think this is going to go down. I think. It's never gone up twice in a row. Fairly high marks last year, around 9 marks. But yeah, anyway, I'm just going to scroll through these quickly so you guys can see them. I'm not going to go through them too much anymore because there's not really high marks coming to these topics. So I'm going to slowly go through them. Feel free to think about it yourself. See what's going on here. This one's interesting. 3 years in a row where it's been going on the increase. Enzymes, nucleotides, and then you can ignore the last one. Okay, nucleotides I think is going to go up this year. We've had 3 zeros in a row, so I wouldn't be surprised if it went up. But look, when it does go up, it's like 4, 3, 5 marks, so barely anything at all. All right, maybe some MCQ stuff there. So that is the video, guys. Best of luck. You got this. I know it. Peace.